Welcome back to True Crime Lounge podcast here on Spotify and YouTube. I do have a Patreon that you can join for early access to episodes scheduled to come out. Um, I also have a merch shop for your true crime gear, and for any updates on my channel, you can find me on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And with that being said, let's dive into today's episode, shall we? Happy St. Patrick's Day, by the way. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about the case of Tara Calico. The case of Tara Calico continues to haunt the true crime world. While most investigators and armchair detectives alike speculating the circumstances surrounding this bizarre case and sensational clues. Like Annette Sagers, Tara Calico disappeared in 1998 after leaving her home in Belen, New Mexico to be to a bike ride along Highway 47. Tara was never seen again. In the search for Tara, pieces of her Walkman were found along Highway 47. The bike was never recovered. Leads in this case dried up and it went cold for a year until a disturbing piece of evidence emerged that has her case made her case become famous throughout the internet. In Port St. Joe, Florida, a woman reported that she had found a Polaroid outside in the store parking lot, local convenience store. This Polaroid featured a boy and a young woman, both bound and gagged, propped up against the pillows, which appeared to be in a cargo area of a panel van. The witness told authorities that a white van had previously been parked in that spot, driven by a white man with a mustache. There's a speculation to this day whether or not the woman in the Polaroid is actually Tara. So, the book lying next to the young woman in the photo is V.C. Andrews. Speaking of V.C. Andrews, I love her work. I do recommend reading it, but back to the episode. Was her book My Sweet Audrina, which allegedly was one of Tara's favorite books. While no official cause for Tara's disappearance had been established, the sheriff of Valencia County offered his theory. He claimed that the boy who knew Tara was involved in some kind of accident along Highway 47, involving Tara's bicycle and the boy's truck. However, without a body, law enforcement were unable to make a case. In July 1989, 10 months after his 19-year-old stepdaughter Tara vanished from near their home in New Mexico, a friend called John Doyle reported something strange. A photograph had resurfaced in Florida. Think about it. New Mexico, Florida. I'm not a rocket scientist, but we all know there's a vastly amount of miles between those states. Am I right? Um, so, and this photo was showing a young woman and boy who had been gagged. The woman, who looked like Calico, in the image color of a good condition discovered woman in the convenience store parking lot, made national news. Both apparent victims faced the camera and their mouths taped and arms pressed together as they tied up. It appeared they were in the back of a vehicle, perhaps a van, in obvious distress. Who were they? Were they captives? Was this photo a clue into Tara's fate? Um, the questions have lingered for decades, and ever since she went missing on the morning of September 20th, 1988, during her regular bike ride. Let's keep that in mind. This was not a spur of the moment. This was like a everyday thing. Had to be someone who was watching her. That's my theory. But anyway, her mom, Patty Dole, believed until her death that the photo showed her daughter, and the case remained unsolved for the age of the internet-enabled amateur sleuthing. And the picture gathered for notoriety under the ominous headlines as a teen girl was kidnapped, and the only evidence they found of her being alive was a horrifying Polaroid. Authorities were never sure the photo was connected to her case. It was analyzed at least three different times, including by the FBI, who felt strongly that it wasn't Calico, but could not for certain say at the time. Meanwhile, Scotland Yard in the UK declared it was her. The Valencia, keep wanting to say Valenciaga so bad. Anyway, The Valencia County Sheriff's Office, the lead investigating agency, did not actively pursue the image. Instead, they and the FBI probing local suspects in the area. Um, Still, her loved ones wondered. When people ask if it is her, that they if they had said yes, that is her. However, it does not make any sense, and the story does not make sense. So how did this Polaroid put this case in the spotlight? Well, Valencia Sheriff's officials first learned of the Polaroid July 28, 1989, when Calico's stepfather John called it and reported it. John said a friend of his has seen it on a current affair after the issue resurfaced in Port St. Joe, on Florida's Panhandle, some 1,500 miles away. Police reports showed a month earlier, on June 15, 1989. This twist made some headlines around the country and was covered by Oprah, America's Most Wanted, and according to Valencia's Lieutenant Joseph Rowland, the lead investigator. The vehicle in the photo was identified as a van, and it poured over into various vans. Now, answers were also forthcoming, though. Calico's family came forward, saying that the girl resembled their missing daughter. The New Mexico family said it was same about the young boy, expressing the belief that it was their missing son, 9-year-old Michael Henley. So, Michael reportedly disappeared on April 1988 while hunting with his father. Want to keep up. You can keep up with this case too, but like, there's not much we can go on at this moment. Um, but in the photo it says that he looked scared. We're scared, but looks healthy and grateful for that. According to his mom. However, Rowland confirmed that Michael's remains were discovered about 2 years later, and he died of exposure. Further investigative scrutiny also called into question whether the photo were truly depicted. For example, the young woman's hands appear to be tied together tightly, and the shoulders do not seem stressed, or would not be, or the bindings were severe. There were no redness around the tape in the mouths of the children, which would indicate that the tape was not on their mouths for a period of time. To this day, neither the boy nor the girl in the photo have been positively identified. So what about your mom? Well, Patty died in 2006 of complications from a series of strokes and relocating to Florida with her husband John. Her daughter was always on her mind, and her friends and family said she and John kept a bedroom for Tara, bringing her gifts and her passing on Christmas and birthdays. Even near the end, Patty said would see a young girl on a bicycle and would point out and write down Tara. A longtime friend, Billy Payne, recalled, and John would tell her, no, that's not Tara. Tara's older brother, Chris, said that the stress of her sister's disappearance and its persistent irresolution significantly shortened their mom's life. Um, he would also go and say that the police would send photos of every possibility, including photos of bodies dismembered, and got an envelope and every time their mom would get an envelope with the newest pictures, that they had a lot of to look at, and she couldn't not. For Patty, that Florida Polaroid was proof that her daughter, though she was suffering, had survived and she encountered her bodyguard in 1988. Following Patty's death, Michelle took the lead. There was a lead in the family keeping the spotlight in the case. There was a detective. So this Michelle is a detective who works alongside Calico's high school friend Melinda Escobar, and the host of a podcast called Vanished. Really good. I do recommend you go and check it out. But yeah. What about a break? So, we do have a breakthrough in the FBI case, though. On June 6, 2023, Valencia County Sheriff's Office stated that in a press conference they had made substantial progress in the joint investigation in which the FBI looked into her disappearance. According to Rowland, law enforcement believes that they have identified the offenders associated with Tara's disappearance. They are seeking to charge and arrest the offenders. New evidence was found stemming from the investigative work in October 2020. Rowland also added that the DA office has been assigned to the prosecutors to review the investigation. The case has obvious challenges due to its age and circumstances. Legal experts said are currently being briefed and caught up on the 34-year-old investigative work. Any suspect names and details about the case have been remained sealed, and the detectives were asking the public for information. And the FBI also confirmed that the girl in the mysterious photo was not Tara. As her friend Melinda referred to Tara's case as a huge misjustice and worked with her own investigate team to investigate the disappearance. She would also tell the Sun, now, the right people are working on the case, so justice could be served. If you have any questions as to Tara's disappearance, please call the Valencia County Sheriff's Office or the FBI. Um, or you can send a tip online for the FBI website. Um, but that is it for today's episode. I will see y'all next time. And as always, if you guys have any insights on what could be helpful, don't be afraid to um reach out. All right, thank